We keep hearing from the Ukraine side very much the energy resilience, and I know that they're like looking even like geothermal options. They have like, test pilot boreholes, just seeking to like create these, underground heat generating, electricity generating things that you can't just bomb out, or that you can mask as a simple like domicile.
Welcome to PEP, the Protect Europe podcast, where we interview founders and investors building the technology that protects Europe's values, way of life, and infrastructure. Welcome to PEP. Today we dive deep with Creative Destruction Lab, originally from Canada and now spread across the globe in Oxford, Paris, Berlin, and now Estonia. I talk with Kadri and Artur, who are two of the lead builders of Creative Destruction Lab Estonia. CDL looks at how you take science, commercialization, deep tech founders, mentors, and venture capital. Estonia is in the crosshairs of building a huge community around protecting Europe, and this is an excellent deep dive into this conversation. I am absolutely delighted that we're here with the Creative Destruction Lab in Estonia. But the first and obvious question is, apart from it's a really long title, Creative Destruction Lab, what is it and what do you guys do? Kadri, why don't you talk us through what the program is?
Yes, for business people, it's most easy to understand if you say we try to accelerate the ventures, the startup ventures, startup companies. But actually, as a scientist, I would say it's more complicated than that. Okay. Because there are many accelerators in the world, but what we are at CDL, we are operated by universities, and we try to bring together like an old school marketplace, very good entrepreneurs. I mean, you can't get into CDL mentors bench when you have not built like a fantastic company, right? So you get in and you get to meet their other fantastic mentors. And all these mentors advise these startup companies. And they really, really help them to accelerate. They argue, they are not sure. They, test, try to make with different contracts. Whatever they do, they are really very, very the best we have right now to advise these companies. And these companies really accelerate very well because CDL has fantastic figures. So I think some people try to measure we are like 10th in the world and operated by the universities.
And the university operating system's different because obviously like Y Combinator, most well-known accelerator in the world, blah, 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 founded in Silicon Valley, Airbnb, Stripe, etc. all come from that. But that's very much a private entity, very much investing in its own companies, created a kind of ecosystem around itself. Just explain the university hosting part.
Yeah. That's very good thing for university. I think besides the ventures, we are the greatest beneficiaries.
Okay. So the university is definitely getting something out of this. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not sorry to say that because if you think about, we are bringing together the top tech entrepreneurs and the pre-selected, very good enterprises, the small ventures, right?
Okay.
And also, I couldn't advise them. I learned from the textbook kind of material, like papers, books, obviously podcasts, whatever, right? But it has already happened. I learned from the past normally. But in CDL, I as professor, I'm able to learn from current discussion and what these top entrepreneurs, policymakers as well, see from the future. So my knowledge is much more up to date compared to what it otherwise have been. And also, we take our students together in these rooms. They help companies. They also learn a lot. They get contacts to these mentors. Their horizons are broadened. Their eyes are like sparkling. So that's fantastic. I mean, that's very good for
Okay, so I love it. So this is a forcing function for a university to ensure that they stay super relevant to what is happening in society today.
I would maybe complement this. It's think of it like I like to borrow the thoughts of people who are smarter than me. So Stephen Johnson keeps writing about these liquid networks and how innovation works.
Yep.
And what we do is we create a liquid network. So there's very many parties to it. There's the startups, there's the mentors who advise us. There's the university side who's interested in advancing science and leveraging the brains that all gather for a CDL. And then there's the students, naturally, who get access to people and companies they otherwise never would have been able to touch. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't, play down the value that the mentors get themselves as well, because we always get asked, like, you have so many people from across the pond who make the trip 3-4 times a year on their own budget just to meet the startups, to meet everyone else. It's about like the quality of the network. It takes a time to get going. And naturally, we've been able to leverage the 1.5 decades of CDL history and the networks. But the reason everyone comes together is that everybody, has an agenda, has something they want to get. But what we create is we create this very like a serendipitous mix where you're going to be very likely to get an answer to your question.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And look, I love the concept of the liquid network. And just help us out. CDL's obviously got a backstory behind it. But CDL Estonia, when did it start?
We've been running for 4 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Our 4th year.
Okay, so 4 years. And obviously, and you're part of the network, and obviously it's in Berlin and other places around the world. Why does this make sense for Estonia? So like if we push back from the university, why Estonia? Why is this helping Estonia? And why is Estonia the right place to do this sort of work?
Yes. Being like analytically, maybe starting from stronger points, obviously being on the edge here or the borderland, we need a lot of more internationalization, like all internationalization that we can get in terms of ideas, in terms of connections, in terms of just people, feeling for us being here and caring about what happens to us in the future, right? So this is the first point. Our ecosystem needs more international mentors, also capital, everything, links, right? But also, on the other hand, Estonia has a land of unicorns. So it has been very successful further. And now we are looking to advance, nurture the second generation of unicorns and third generation. So we have a lot to offer. We have this experience. So in Estonia, we also have a very strong mentor community. And actually, this is something very unique among all these 15 CDL sites that we have in Estonia. We have a local, very strong mentor group, being, experienced in these, very well-known companies, background like Skype and Verif and Bolt and Pipedrive, whatever. So these are helping our ventures, and also these international mentors who also come here, not only because of ventures, because of the commitment to Estonia, but also for these local mentors who are really, really smart guys and now investing also outside Estonia and are quite well known. So it's for the country as a whole. I would say it's also maybe our branding, because we are well known as Digital Society, and the stream was called Digital Society. We are not very well known as land of defense companies, but we hope we will become one.
I think you will be. You will be on that one. Just a funny aside. I live in Finland now, but I lived in Poland for 2 years. I remember meeting like the head of the Polish investor angel network. We were just chatting about how angel investing was going in Poland. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. And I said, how can we make this network better? And he said, we could import 30 Estonian angels to Poland. That's how I can make my network better. And this was no disrespect to the Polish angels. This was the fact that the Estonian angels had generally made their money doing tech investments, had generally built tech companies, and the Polish angels at that point in time had generally built manufacturing businesses or hotel businesses or traditional businesses post 1989, post the war collapsing. And that's where their money came from, and that's where their mindset came from. And I think that was the interesting mindset thing. Okay, Artur, talk about the program. Hold on, talk about the program. So how does the program actually work? What are you rolling out today?
If you say that you're accelerating companies, everybody always asks, what's the program? Tell us the ABC, what's the lessons, what's the workshops, what's the speakers we're going to be listening to? And this is like a thing. We've yet to invent a new word, but we should for the type of thing we're doing. So there's no pre-made programming. We're of a very strong conviction that you as the founders, you obviously know your business best. And the more nuanced and the more advanced the company becomes, the more nuanced the needs become. It's not just about like, give us an IP lawyer. It's give us an IP lawyer who has experience in the UK. What CDL does is that it brings, to continue with this liquid network metaphor, is 4 times a year across the globe from all NATO allied countries. We bring together mentors. So these are like scientists, former operators, or current operators who are active in the business area that we focus on, investors who invest in this sphere. We put them together in one room, and then we spend 9 months out of the year to put together 20 companies who we think are most deserving, most promising, to leverage this very, very thick soup that we put together for them 4 times a year. And then prior to each of these 4 meetings, we ask the startups, what do you need help with? And then based on their feedback, we pair them up with the mentors who have the experience or the network or the knowledge to get them through those challenges. It can be anything from like product development to entering a specific market to like solving funding or mapping out investors in a certain region or a certain vertical. And then we have these session days, which are moderated, which are guided, because we acquire a lot of info beforehand to make sure that the matches are good, and then we sort of let them all out to the pasture and allow them to, with guidance, naturally. If you inform them beforehand that this is the one you should hunt down, and this is who has a question, answer to your questions. And then we create this cross-pollination throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, everybody knows, what the mentors know what the startups need help with. They can raise their hand. And then until the next session, out of these 4 sessions that we have throughout the year, each one is 2 months apart, the mentors that raise their hands in session 1 are going to help those startups solve the problems that they're currently working on. And then in 2 months, we repeat the process, because the startup, system, it's so rapidly evolving that essentially what we do is we guarantee that at any point in time throughout the program, the startup always has the most timely, relevant mentors and networks that they need for their current challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love it. So there's no program, which is great, and it's massively responsive, and it's all about talent density. So this is all about putting the best people in the room, virtually or physically, with the companies, and reducing their time to response, time to action, time to feedback.
Yes.
And it is physically. We're very rarely virtually.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Colin, may I offer a little spoiler, because we have a little
don't ruin
structure.
it.
We have a little structure to this program. It's not that we are throwing them together and then go out. If you are a startup company, you have a little time and you have so much to do. What do you do first? What is strategically most important thing that you do first? So this is the objectives, what to do in next 8 weeks that are in between of our sessions. This is the key arguing kind of matter in our sessions, what they should do first, what now, next 8 weeks. And the mentors, they give them advice, contacts, work with them if they like. So this is the backbone, the aim setting, objective setting. And the mentors argue there is objective setter, there is critiquer, there others are discussing. Sometimes they disagree totally. So it's really, the companies are getting a lot of advice how to move quickly, what to do next, which contacts to take, what they should do first if they don't know what to do, right? What they should do, how they should do it. And all these people practically can guide them. And also, if you see that our mentors have nothing to offer to one company, they don't vote for the company anymore, then the company gets out of the program, because we don't want to waste their time. If mentors are not interested in advising them, we don't invite them back, so they just hang out there, right? No, they are leaving the session, and if they are not voted for, next time they don't come back. And so maybe about less than 50% of our companies graduate, and then we bring them together, everybody, to Toronto Super Session, where they can meet all the mentors of the other sites as well. So this is like really big party then.
Look, I think that's really important, because then partly then it's the talent density question, which is the quality of the mentors combined with the quality of the founders. And obviously you doing this orchestration, non-program program role. The challenge then is you've got to get the right mentors, because the difficulty, jokes aside about my Polish angel thing, right? But again, if you have people who are just packaging their previous experiences, which is from the past, right? Their previous experiences, and then putting that in a nice stack and then delivering that to the companies that are building for problems today that they probably won't come across in the past, we end up with this kind of slow backward cycle. We're all trying to kind of invent Amazon.com, which was founded in 1994, rather than the businesses that we need today. So how do you select the mentors? And then how do you ensure that we're really building the companies that we need to solve the problems of today, not try and reinvent, let's just do Dropbox from, but let's do it for Estonia or Central Eastern Europe.
Yeah. This is first of it. We don't take only Estonian companies. The competition is international. Last year we had from 13 countries. Artur knows how many this year. Maybe less.
It's still around the same number.
Okay. Yeah. So that's first thing. The second thing is that many of our mentors are building other companies. So sometimes they have no time to come in because they are busy with their own companies. Some of them, many of them, are investors themselves. So they go everywhere, they educate themselves. For example, a big problem was that nobody was defense investor a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They had to learn. So they go and learn. But how we try to improve that as well, we try to go around the world also. Our mentors recruit for us other mentors from defense field. So we try to bring together here next to Estonian mentors, the mentors from the US, from Canada, from Nordic countries. Where we have less mentors from is from the rest of Europe, right? So we have Nordic and overseas, and then we also invite all the time guest mentors, because we don't want, if they suit us, if we suit to them. So we invite from, Singapore, Philippines, you name it, like all countries.
Okay.
So we have actually our mentor bench is really long. So we only have 20 companies. So we don't want to have 200 mentors in the room.
No.
Yes.
Because then they're wasting their time.
But actually, we have competition for 50 places sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would very quickly add that I would think of this in a way that it's like a compounding effect. Like if you sign, Red Hot Chili Peppers for your concert, you're gonna get Lady Gaga more easily. So for us, the Red Hot Chili Peppers was the founders. We have Sten Damgivi, who's built up Skype, and then we have Andrew Thompson from the Silicon Valley side. And they brought in some huge names, some very experienced people. And this created this effect that if those people are willing to give us the time of day, this is something to pay attention to. And now, naturally, it's like compounded into this kind of, it's picked up so much speed that no longer is it so much a trouble of like convincing the mentors that this is the place worth their time, because they take a look at the list of other people and they're like, yes, I would love to have dinner with them and exchange thoughts. It's more about like finding the people who have time during this very specific 4 times a year. So it's more about like getting busy people to put us in their calendars.
And
and that makes perfect sense. And again, I don't know if you saw, I think these things always need reinvention, right? Yeah. So Aalto University in Helsinki, great reputation, kind of MIT for Finland. They had a very strong startup society, kind of waned slightly over the years. They've just reinvented it with this program called FR8 or Freight. Yeah. This hacker hotel, which is kind of almost a startup within a startup. Like the university had limited control over it, and it's kind of given birth to basically a bunch of founders that just come in, work like mad in a hotel for a period of time, and then there's a demo day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like the opposite of an accelerator. They're just hosting them and just saying, go really hard, we'll support you type approach. But what's interesting about that is that attracts success. It's the kind of success that attracts success. Anyway, let's segue back. Let's talk about defense aspect, right? Because I think this is one of the challenges. Estonia shares a border with Russia. There's a lot. It's a small country next to a very big country. Talk about the focus around defense, what you're trying to do there. And again, defense, you can take that wider. So it can be cyber, it can be space, it can be anything. What's the playbook here? How does this work?
Do you mean within CDL Estonia or within Estonian ecosystem as a whole?
Let's do CDL Estonia, and then we can widen out.
I would maybe cover the widen out, Kadri, if you want to take.
Okay, fine. Widen first, then Artur.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I just when you asked, the first thing I thought of is that the Estonian Founders Society does this event called the Defense Tech Meetup, which they started a little bit more than a year ago. And I checked my calendar recently, and the event I went to last September, so about a year ago, it was so heated. They always have a government representative, and the entire conversation was just like kind of like a shouting match of like the government saying that you can only sell to primes. We only buy from primes. We never take risks with taxpayer money. You're out of the loop. And then the startuppers are, of course, that we need to make it more agile, make the procurement faster. Then I skipped a few events, and then I went to one in spring. And then they said that, I think it was Kaimo Kuusk from the Estonian government side who said, hey, we have a couple 100,000 for the Estonian defense forces to play around with, to experiment with things without like added bureaucracy. And everyone was like perking their ears, like, oh, they're starting to listen. And this August, I went to the Defense Tech Meetup, and there's a guy from the defense forces called Ivo Peets, and they set up this completely new, like a government structure that is entirely built around listening to the startup. I think it was called Force Transformation Command. So it's about like, how do we take these solutions and make the government side, make the military side more agile, more able to adopt new technologies fast. And now it's like, I think it has I'm not going to say from my memory what the amount of funding was that they have, but now this is like a priority. There's people assigned to it. It's in focus, and that was all of this took place within 1 year. So that's like the speed of development in this field and in the mindset.
That is fantastic to hear, and I love the fact that you kind of skipped a couple. Oh, and something happened. Skipped another couple. So that's your strategy, isn't it? Right? You just have to skip a couple and then things up. Look, I think that's great in terms of Estonia as an overall, right? So it's, no respect, a smaller country than a lot. So it's able to reorientate itself like a startup, pivot a little bit more, appreciate that militaries buy capabilities, but ultimately those capabilities need to be maintained and improved over time. So if I go for some small startup and they have this cool thing, but then they run out of money and they can't provide it anymore, suddenly my military loses that capability. That doesn't feel good on that side. So it's having that nice balancing act. Okay, so that's the top down. Mm-hmm. What have you seen or what have you not seen in CDL so far in the defense space?
Actually, we are focused on some fields or some aspects, because we cannot cover everything. And as now, how to generalize all these startups, which we cannot publish yet, and we just can look. Obviously, there are some of them which are related to drone detection technologies. So related to drones, this was one of our priorities, because we also have good contacts to Ukraine, where they can be tested. And also, by the way, as Artur said, we take NATO countries, but actually we take also Ukrainian companies in.
Okay.
So this drone technology, related technologies, jamming, identification, all that. Then also the next related that is radar technologies. There is a couple of these. So then different sensor building technologies. again, in very different fields, and also maybe some kind of AR, VR, let's say demining softwares, or like one. Also last year we had demining companies in. So demining is something that you need if you are building these walls or demolishing them. So a couple of them as well. And also maybe one big area of ours has been cybersecurity, obviously because of this attack. And we have a couple of cybersecurity companies as well. So this is like just light overview. We have every year we have some interesting companies which are really doing a weird thing, some chemicals or some uh, just for having this diversity, because you wouldn't want to see 20 drone companies right in the group, because that's boring also for the mentors. And by the way, last year we had two demining companies with different technologies, and we thought that some of them will be not liked by our mentors, but actually both were very much liked by our mentors, so they continued throughout the program. So we were not like sometimes it's also good to have different competing technologies, because then we could extract out where the strengths of both of them are and where they should go. And it was not
No,
the
I
same
completely
direction.
agree. I think it's important to have a different technical approach as well
Yes.
as different
Yes,
commercial
yes, yes.
approach. If you look at someone like, so in Finland, in decentralized nuclear power,
Yeah.
which I would very much place in this security area, because one of the things I'm sure Ukraine will wish for in the future is decentralized nuclear power, because effectively, if you can take nuclear energy generation or heat generation, stick it underground and make sure it's not connected to anything big, it's much easier to keep it safe. And there's a company in Finland, it's called Steady Energy. There's a company in Denmark called Copenhagen Atomics that are kind of two of the European leaders in this particular space, taking completely different technological paths.
Yeah.
Right, so the family tree of nuclear, they are definitely down the other lines. That's super important.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right, because if one of them runs into a real blockage, both technically, regulatory, commercially, dead. Sorry, Artur.
Yeah.
No. It's just, it is something we keep hearing from the Ukraine side very much, the energy resilience. And I know they're like looking even like geothermal options. They have like, test pilot boreholes, just seeking to like create these, underground heat generating, electricity generating things that you can't just bomb out, or that you can mask as a simple like, domicile. Yeah.
No, but I think it's a really important point, because fundamentally, we've all seen across Europe that the challenges around energy security very much then determine whether your government is going to speak out on issues. Right, so there's no coincidence that the president of France is a big vocal, anti supporter of Ukraine, anti-Russia guy, because France is energy secure.
Yeah.
Has been since the 60s, has its nuclear power stations, doesn't import any energy. They're good.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you can keep your own lights on, it's an awful lot easier for industry and the domestic to suddenly make your principles come to the forefront.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's harder for the countries that effectively, Germany, it's obvious, everybody knows it, that are weak in that area.
Yeah.
And maybe to tie on to that and your previous question, when Kadri was covering kind of like the topics that we do look for and go for in terms of startups, then companies who provide this supply chain independence or sovereignty, whether it's energy, whether it's some type of crucial material, there's still areas of business where like China holds like 90%, or there's areas where it's like, for example, like graphite, 88% we import, and I think like 80 plus is from China. So this is if there's a company that can address this is very much in our thoughts, a company that is contributing to national security and resilience. So they're a company that's fit for us.
Yeah, look, I think, and again, if you've got any that you can lightly dust, it'd be useful to know. I think material sovereignty is super important. And this is not waving a kind of nationalistic flag. This is just, Look what happens when you get strong winds in the Sahara and a boat basically hits the sandbank in the canal, and then suddenly global trade stops. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't a terrorist attack. It was literally a bit of extra wind, and the boat basically nudges into the side of the canal, and then global trade just goes, oops.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? So that wasn't even a war, right? That was just a gust of heavy wind. So what are the sort of companies that are in the kind of material space? Because I think that's super interesting.
There is one I think we can talk about. It's from Sweden. It's Nordic Biographite, and they are working together with numerous Swedish universities and essentially creating this newer solution to make graphite out of like forest waste, just like biomass. But it is going to be more pricey, but it's going to yield higher quality. But this is an area where any kind of opportunity or any kind of solution is so welcome, because we're nearly 100% dependent on exporting it if we talk about Europe. And 80+% of that is from China. That was the example I previously gave as well.
And we cannot talk about this company, but we have also one company who produces silent and with no heat signature energy, but we can't talk about them.
Okay. Don't.
So we have some, but not like massive. And actually, CDL has an energy stream and ocean stream where they also deal a lot with energy and so climate tech, and there are other streams as well who deal with that. But you are totally right that in the national security we should deal more with these kind of technologies and try to search for them and encourage them. But actually, all Estonian rare earth producer 30 kilometers from the border or less to Russia, and our energy's main supplier is right on the border, a couple of kilometers away, like 10 or so. So this will not help us in this lifetime.
I think you've kind of got the point. And again, this isn't really an anti-China play. This is the fact that we have outshored too much of our own capacity, right? And so, the pendulum for globalization swung over here, right? And at this point, for better or for worse, it needs to swing back over here.
It's like if you're moving out of your home, it's not because you hate your parents. You just, you need to become independent.
Or perhaps, no, we won't go there. No, I think that's a really, look, I think material sovereignty, energy generation and distribution, and then obviously that ability to protect your own borders, whether that's cyber or space or any other type of border, so that you are independent, so that you can live your life outside your parents' house. It's all the stuff that we kind of, we want to see on that side. Okay, super exciting. Let's just, before we wrap up, what happens, where are you in your current cycle, right? So we're recording this in September. Where are you in your cycle? Where does it go to? I know you can't reveal everything, but what's coming next?
We wrapped up the selection of the 20 companies in August. Right now, we're actively working with them to prepare the sort of materials, because we have our first meeting October 14th in Tallinn, Estonia. So all of these materials that will go beforehand to the mentors, so they know what kind of companies to expect, what kind of challenges to expect. That's where we are right now. Naturally, we're already designing the event in December and planning and looking for venues and stuff for like the events in February and in April. So we look very far ahead, but the program year itself is just starting.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, love it. Now, last but not least, who do you admire in this space, right? So this podcast is very much about giving voice to those who are building the technology or investing in the technology that protects Europe. So we've talked about that. So who do you think is doing a great job? Who should we shout out?
Yeah.
Kadri,
you can't talk about all your companies, but let's maybe talk about someone who's not one of your companies.
Maybe from one of our alumni, I would shout out to Vegvisir, who is actually, maybe more protecting people to have this visualize the battlefield and make people more see and this is Estonian company. So they basically create mixed reality situational awareness systems. That's the short form of what they do, and yeah, it can be used by different manned or unmanned vehicles. So it can be put on top of all.
And I think this is super important. Like, the battlefield, there's always been that fog of war concept, right?
Exactly.
But this is now the whole question, whether you're in a battlefield situation or just in a crowded capital city.
Yes.
Right? How do you take in 1,000 changing data points and understand how you act?
Exactly.
Right? Whether that's a Taylor Swift concert, or a battlefield, how do you take in those visual points? How do you actually, whether that's you a human or you a computer, visualize that information?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a really good one. Artur, have you got one?
I mean, I was going to highlight a startup, but I think there's a more sort of relevant player to give more screen time to, and that's Darkstar. Ragnar Zeiss and his team have, in collaboration with many parties, have put together a program for defense startups where they take the startups, they take you to the front lines. There's a 5-day accelerator held in Ukraine. You meet the end users of your products. You get like the most valuable feedback. The thing we've learned over the past few years that we've transitioned into defense is that if you're not validated in Ukraine right now, you're not even playing the same game. You're still on the bench. Given how relevant this is for a defense startup to have this experience, to be able to say that yes, our device or our software actually is in the hands of a Ukrainian fighter, and they gave us this and that feedback, that's like night and day difference. So what Darkstar is doing is, I think, changing the world, is putting like rocket jetpacks on the backs of so many founders. I cannot praise them enough.
Yeah, and maybe if I have some space,
Cool.
then maybe one company from our last year's alumni batch again is Chimera from Ukraine. And this is Misha is their one of their owners who has been here. I like very much Misha. And but what they are producing, it's maybe feels very simple to you. They are producing very cheap walkie-talkies to
the radio guys, right? Yeah,
which cannot be traced and which are really much cheaper, and this is why this is important, because all the weapons cost a lot, because this is our taxpayers' money, and this, if you have like a fraction of the costs and a better product, I think this is something, again, you can use it in different fields, right? You don't have to use it only in the combat zone, right? But this is something, again, that shows that how these new companies can really make a difference. So you don't have to spend so much, and you can save lives. They cannot be jammed. They cannot be listened to. So you really also protect people with a fraction.
Yeah, this new kind of demand for, we have what works, we just need to make it cheaper and more accessible. So Misha Rudominsky and his team at Chimera, they managed to 20 times reduce the price of encrypted communication.
Yes.
20 times. So from going into like, we have one device per 20 guys, we can actually put a device in every guy's hand.
Yeah, that's
I think that is amazing. Shout out. So well done for it. And in fact, when we did the episode with Wayran, who are obviously doing battlefield latency communication, that was their shout out as well, which was the Chimera guys in terms of that side. So, but I think the key thing there is economics drive this, right? So, I just did a big piece of preparation for our category leader podcast where we were looking at Bailey Gifford, which is the UK-based growth stage investor. Mm-hmm. And they've been in operation since 1908 to today, right? So they have a long history. But what's fascinating when you dig into their history is you look at the companies they've invested in and looking at how they were able to get the costs of goods down. Yeah, whether that was SpaceX, or whether that was Tesla, whether that was the Model T Ford, right? Because they literally, that was one of their first gigs. Mm-hmm. It's, can you get the cost curve down? Yeah. And then ultimately, economics drive warfare, right? One of the reasons World War II kind of changed was because of the economics of basically oil production and goods production in America. Yeah. And it was just that Germany ran out of fuel before it ran out of bullets. On that particular side. Okay, guys, that was an amazing conversation. You are so cool. I'm so impressed. You definitely have put Estonia on the map on this particular one. And a big thanks for what you're doing. And we're looking forward to following the non-program as it kicks off for this year.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Khalid.
Pleasure. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. To make sure you catch us again, please follow us on your favorite podcasting platform.